Good morning, loves. It is Motivation Monday with yours truly, Dr. K. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you guys for tuning on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Monday, October the 11th, and this day is special to me for so many reasons. So as you come on and we're kind of liking and sharing, please make sure that you do. My name again is Dr. K, and I am the founder of Freedom by Design, and it was only by God's grace. So I'm excited about that He has entrusted me to this platform to do what He has called for me to do, and that is to engage, encourage, and empower. So great morning as you come on. Good morning, Bernadette. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Lynn. Hey, Christina. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. I'm excited about this morning. I am ready. I'm sitting here and I'm looking and I'm like, Lord, what are we doing today? I'm sitting and I'm like, it's October the 11th. And he was like, I know what today is. Today is Motivation Monday. And I'm like, yeah, but it's October the 11th. And for those of you who don't know, October the 11th is my father's birthday. So yes, it's my earthly father's birthday, and he's no longer with us. So, 5 years ago, God saw fit to call him home. And I have to tell you, I wasn't excited about that at all because it was very abrupt. But that leads us to this morning's topic of discussion, and it is borrowed time. Borrowed time. And I know you're probably like, oh my God, Trina, it is Motivation Monday. How are we talking about borrowed time? Because I have to be obedient, if nothing else. It's not about what we always want to hear. It's not always about a feel-good message, but it's about the truth. So this morning, our topic is borrowed time. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. As you come on, do like and share. And remember, you are able to tune in on YouTube as well as Facebook Live. So let us go ahead and jump right on in. So this month, God has ordained to be for the Freedom by Design platform. This month is all about seasons. So we're talking about a variety of seasons. And I know everybody is like, well, girl, you can talk about the harvest season. And I said, no, I can't. I got to be obedient because we go through different seasons in life. So as I spoke earlier, October the 11th is my earthly father's birthday, and he is in heaven with his father. 5 years ago, I couldn't say that without being overly emotional and tears coming down. And tears, I still do shed tears because I miss my daddy, but like I said, he is with his father and he knows best. So I rejoice in knowing that he is not suffering, that he is not worrying about a meal, that he's not out in the rain, that he's not in the streets, that he's not chasing a high. He's not doing any of that. The only thing that he is doing is chasing God. He is doing what God would have him to do. So with that being said, as much as I take comfort in knowing that my dad is sleeping with his father, today is still a heavy day because this afternoon we actually have a homegoing celebration for a young man who is like my son. He went to school with my son KJ at middle school. They graduated from high school together, and about a week ago, he lost his life in a tragic accident. And his name is Dontre Butler. And I'm just excited today to be able to be in a mind space where I can pray over all of those children all of his friends and family that have been impacted. And it definitely hurts, but knowing what I know now, some years ago, I might have been in a different place, but I know that Dontre is not suffering. I know that it was his time and his assignment has been fulfilled. And I know you might say, well, Katrina, that seems so insensitive, but it's not. When you know whose you are and you understand, that we all have a time, we all have an assignment, it looks very different. So this afternoon, I ask that you pray, or even now that you pray for his mother, his father, his siblings, as well as his friends, because it is difficult. I know when my dad was taken, it was abruptly. So when that happens, it shakes you. And as a mother, I can't even begin to fathom what that would look like, but I know how to pray. I know how to get on my knees and do that. So I ask that you guys do pray on today for the family of Dontre Butler as we celebrate his homegoing on this afternoon. So with that being said, guys, you know that we've been talking about Ecclesiastes, and we've been really delving into that thing. And there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. So I'm not going to read the entire scripture of Ecclesiastes 3, but I do want you to go back and take a look at it. I do want you to look and see what it says for yourself. I want you to digest it for yourself, because what I realize is that we're living on borrowed time. I know that we might feel like we have all the time in the world. And it's one of the things that I say all the time, that time is the one resource that we can't ever get any more of. We can't go buy any more time. We might be able to get some more money, but time we don't. And when I thought about it, I said, when we come into this world, we're brought right in. We have no input, no say of who our parents are going to be, what the situation is going to be, what the structure is going to be set up like. Many of us who like to be in control, we don't get to control that. And in the same vein, when we depart, we do not get to control that. It's a specific day at a specific time, and it's already been set in stone. That is, some of us are really bad at keeping appointments. We might show up 20 minutes late, or we might reschedule, or we might want to cancel that appointment. We cannot cancel. God has already set that appointment. So understand, there is a season and a time for everything. And you are absolutely correct, Lynn. You're getting right into what I'm going to talk about. Yes, we have to live our life to the fullest, but we got to be obedient in living our life. We got to live a life that is going to give him the ultimate glory, not us, but him. So as I was going through scripture this morning, and I was looking, I found myself looking at 2 Corinthians 12:9, and it says, my grace is sufficient for thee. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. So when I thought about that thing, I said, Lord, we got to move more with a sense of urgency. We got to drop everything that we are doing so that we can be about your business. Because again, when we're children, it seems like, oh, I don't even care about time. When we're young adults, it's like, okay, I'm good. I can do this and I can do that. When we start maturing and life starts looking different, time is that thing that we don't have enough of. We start saying, dog, I wish I would have did this, or I need some more time to do this. But I thought about it. I went back to the Bible and I started looking at some examples where when God says my grace is sufficient for you, it's made perfect in your weakness. I thought about that thing and I went back and I said, God, give me some examples of people in the Bible where you gave grace and where time you did extend it. And he said, well, let's go back and let's look at Noah. And I said, okay, I'm with you on Noah. He said, Noah built the ark. And what were people doing? People were picking at him. People were like, what are you doing? Nobody, they had not even heard of rain. So he was like, for 7 days, I'll cause it to rain upon the earth. And for 40 days and 40 nights, for yet 7 days, and I will call it the rain upon the earth, 40 days, 40 nights, every living substance that I have made, I will destroy. Now, the thing about that is he did leave time for people to come into the ark, but all of that building, and he waited 120 years for the ark to be built. So God had grace. He gave grace. He gave time, and he waited. Only 8 souls were saved because people were out there doing whatever they wanted to do. And that made me come back to today and say, we're living on borrowed time, but we act like we have all the time in the world. We act like, oh, I got to do what I feel like doing today. I'm looking at my schedule. I'm doing my to-do list. And I'm like, are you handling kingdom business on that to-do list, or is it just about you? And I said, okay, God, I get it. That makes sense. I understand that time is borrowed, but what does it really mean to borrow? What does that look like? Because maybe people don't get when he says it's borrowed time, because I promise you, the morning I got that call about my dad, that wasn't a call I was expecting. I was about to get up to go to work, and I thought it was business as usual. I got a text message that night saying good night from him. So I thought nothing. So when my phone rung at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking it must be something about my job. The last thought on my mind was that my dad's, his number had been called and my time with him was up. But God said, look at the word borrow and see what it means. To receive something on loan and to use it as your own with the intent of returning it to its rightful owner. So, family, I want you to think about that. This time that we have, it's not ours, it belongs to God. So, what are you doing with this time that you have been lent? And I promise you, I was like, Lord, oh my goodness. You know, he's like, are you playing too much of this or paying too much attention to that? Or are you working to the benefit of my kingdom? And I thought about that thing because yesterday I went to church and I went to Faith Walk Ministries over in Riverdale under the leadership of Bishop Collins. And she talked about, her message was a kingdom mindset. And I said, are we benefiting the kingdom? And I could hear Bishop Collins as I was getting ready this morning. And she said, you know, you have to have a kingdom mindset as you're moving out into this world. And she gave 5 distinct points. And she used the text that was a familiar text. She used Luke 10:30-37. And it was about the Good Samaritan, where, you know, we know everybody walked by and they were like, you see somebody on the side of the road, I don't have time for that, I can't help them. People look, but they kept on going. And in that parable, she used 5 points that were key to ask these questions or to tell you, if you got a kingdom mindset, this is what it looks like. Number one, you're empathetic. If you see your brother or your sister and they're hurting, you won't look and just turn your head and act like you didn't see them. You're empathetic. Number 2, you're medicinal. Yeah, we got medicinal characteristics and qualities within us. We can cleanse and disinfect with the word of God. Do you have it? Is it in your storehouse? Are you meditating on it? Number 3, we got to be strategic. We got to move. And we can't just be out here doing whatever we want to do. We have to be calculated. We got to be intentional about how we're moving. And number 4, are you generous with your resources? Are you giving of your time? Are you giving of your money? Are you giving? Are you supporting? Are you willing? And the number 5, the quality was, you got to be humble. You got to be humble. You got to take yourself out of that thing. You got to strip yourself down. You can't be bigger or better than anyone, because guess what, family? This is borrowed time that we're living on. This is not our time. Ultimately, it is his. And he has to get the full glory. And I was like, okay, God, you know, I'm understanding that. I'm feeling it. I said, give me another example. He said, well, let's talk about Hezekiah. I said, okay, let's talk about Hezekiah. He was like, Hezekiah understood the assignment. And I said, how so? He said, because what had happened was the Lord sent Isaiah to tell him, hey, it's time for you to get your house in order. Your time is up. Hezekiah immediately faced the wall and he prayed to God and he reminded God, hey, I've walked before you in truth and with a perfect heart. And hey, I have done all that you have asked for me to do. It's been good in thy sight. And guess what? And Hezekiah wept and he was like, Lord, please, your grace, that's what I'm looking for. And then what did God do? God said, okay, you know what? You are right. Go and tell Hezekiah that, guess what? I heard his cry, I heard his prayer, and I have seen his tears, and I will add 15 years unto his days for his obedience, for his faith, and all of that great stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I said, okay, you know, Hezekiah petitioned on his own behalf, but he had somebody interceding for him too, but he was there. And I said, you know what? God didn't disagree with him. He was like, okay. And he gave him more time. His time was up, but God's grace is sufficient and he'll do a mighty thing. So when he says your time is up, all you have to do is go to him. All you have to do is talk to him. And even when your loved one, when their number has been called, you still got to go to him. You still have to say, you know what, God, I know what I wanted, but I know that you know best. And I was like, you know what? Our clock is ticking, family. It is ticking. And he said, well, don't stop there. Let's talk about the woman, the widow who came to Elisha, because her clock was ticking too. Her sons were about to be sold into slavery. And she was a widow woman, but she knew to call on God. She went to Elisha and she said, hey, my husband he was with you. He was a good man. Do you remember my husband? And Elisha was like, oh, what would you have me to do? She was like, hey, he was with you. He was your servant. He worked with you. He was there with you. You know him. So on the strength of him, I need you to help me. And he told her to go out and borrow. She is coming to him with a need, but he said borrow. And, go borrow all the empty barrels that you can. And he began to bless and anoint those things. And it made me think about what they might say. We're in a time where, how they grieving how are they grieving? How is she not sad? Her dad is gone, or this person's child is gone, or this person's loved one is gone. You know what? It's not about they. It's about your walk with Christ. The only person whose grace is going to be sufficient in this season, the only person that I know I had my friends around, my family around, but God has been a true comforter. I know that I can go to him with the silent tears. So guys, we have to remember that we are on borrowed time. He says, you know what? We got to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. So are we getting up? Are we moving with a sense of urgency? He says, don't be unwise, but be understanding about his will. So he is saying, you are not gone today because you are on special assignment. Do you know what your assignment is? Do you know who you're supposed to be impacting? Do you know whose life that you're supposed to be touching? Because somebody isn't here today. And God is saying, you are here today. Your time is, your clock has been set. The alarm has been set for you, but it's not today because I need you to do something. I need you to move in a certain way. So family, I'm asking you on today, are you doing what you need to do with the time that you have been given? Again, we don't get to say when we come into this world. We don't get to choose our parents. We don't get to say when we leave. But with the time that you have been given, have you been advancing the kingdom? Do you have a kingdom mindset? When you move, are you doing those things? Are you being empathetic? Are you being medicinal? Are you being strategic? Are you being generous? Are you being humble? Are you helping people? Are you doing what you need to do with the time that you have? Or are you trying to further your own agenda? And that's a rhetorical question for each and every one of us to answer. But that's my time. That's my word for this morning, family. That is what he has given me. Again, I ask that you continue to keep everybody lifted, because you know what? Life and death is happening quickly in this season, and we got to be focused. We got to make sure that we are doing what he has called us to do, because our time is borrowed, but we want to advance the kingdom. We want to get before him, not the world, and say, Lord, what is it that you would have me do so that I can benefit the kingdom, so that I can be in alignment with your word, with your will, with your way, with what you would have for me to do. So as I said again, guys, I want you to get before him, read the word for yourself, meditate on it, digest it, and see what God is asking or calling you to do in this season. I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday, because I'm excited. I have a beautiful woman of God that is going to come, and she is going to be with us. Her name is Emily Salters Kendrick. She is a retired educator. She is an entrepreneur. So do join us. So I'm excited to hear what God is doing in this season in Emily's life. She is a quiet person, but I'm excited for her to come on and for us to share. So join us on Wisdom Wednesday, family. Join us on Wisdom Wednesday. I'm excited about it. And remember, you can tune in on YouTube as well as Facebook. So go ahead and subscribe when you get there so that you can get the alerts. But with that being said, family, I love you. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Have a fantastic day and stay prayed up. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. God